the founder of MySonCanDance.com, and I have a dancer who is now 20 years old and dancing professionally in Germany with Semper Opera Ballet. But he, for many, many years, he lived at home, obviously, and danced. And he began dancing when he was 3 years old. And I went on this journey with him to help him become a professional dancer. And for many years, we struggled with his energy levels and keeping him healthy. He was not a healthy kid, and all that exercise really made it very difficult to keep him healthy. So my topic today for this webinar is how to boost and actually to also sustain your dancers' energy levels, because I think this is just such an important topic. And I have a Facebook group called also My Son Can Dance, and there's constantly conversation in the Facebook group about how to feed these dancers, how to keep them healthy, how to maintain their energy levels so that they can do all these hours of dancing and also compete or perform well and not be tired and not get sick and eat the right foods to keep their bodies healthy and to maintain their energy levels. So I'm here today with my sister, Leora Amir. So welcome, Leora.
Hi, Nina. This is so fun.
It is. We never have gotten to do this before.
No,
it's really...
never.
So Leora has been my health coach for a long time and the health coach for my kids, and I now use her for all my clients. She can tell you about her team as well. I'm going to ask her to give you some background, but every time I've ever had a health issue or my kids have had a health issue, I've gone to Leora, and she's going to explain to you why that is. But she's just a fountain of knowledge, and really the things that she has guided me towards that we'll be talking about today have helped, and actually it made Julian a healthy dancer. He went from being sick all the time, being on antibiotics like I would say almost every 6 weeks or 8 weeks, to not having antibiotics but maybe once a year, if that, and now hardly ever. And it really was because of the difference we made in how in his supplements and in what he was eating for snacks and those sorts of things. So that's what we're talking about today, how to keep your dancer healthy, how to maintain their energy, primarily how to maintain their energy and sustain their energy levels. So I don't have a bio for Leora. I'm going to just start talking to Leora and let her tell you about who she is and her background, and that's going to pretty much inform you on why she's here and why she is my health coach, and why you might want to use her for your son's health coach or your own personal health coach. So, Leora, let's start out with some background and why you became a certified health coach and just your journey.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. It's a great honor to be here with all of you. I have quite an interesting background in terms of what got me to where I am today. I am actually an attorney admitted to the state of New York. I practice law. I was the in-house counsel for a large corporation. I then became the CEO of a training company, and I have always had a tremendous interest in nutrition and health. It was a hobby. I started various groups when I taught college prior to being an attorney. I taught college for a long time, started a health group. So this is not new to me. But when my youngest child turned 12, she became sick. And nobody could quite figure out what was wrong with her. And her health journey, she's now 30 and unfortunately is still sick. We were at hundreds of doctors. We were at various hospitals. And I left full-time work to basically keep her alive. In that process, that adage that we all hear that says, if you don't have your health, you have nothing, never became truer. And I realized that what we call the healthcare system is a disease care system. And if what you wanted to do was to stay healthy, you needed someone who had the knowledge to keep you well. How do you handle various issues? Because the medical profession was able to provide medication or surgery, but not really the road to wellness. So I went back to school. I officially have more degrees than a thermometer right now. And when I went back to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, I became a certified health coach and a board-certified American drugless practitioner, which means that I don't deal in medications, but I deal in all the other aspects of health. So it's been an interesting journey. That is the blessing that came out of my sweet daughter's health issues, but it is now truly my passion to help people to be well, and that's how I got to where I am today. So that's a little bit about my background.
Great. And it's amazing the amount of knowledge you've obtained over the years about health in general. And really, any issue I have, I can go to Leora and say, what do I do for this? And she has the answer.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but...
So what do you consider the main factors to sustaining energy for our dancing boys? Or even if there's some people on here who have girls who are dancing. But
Sure.
I mean, that's our topic today. So what's the main thing they can do to sustain their energy levels?
Okay. We're going to be talking today, obviously, about people who put their bodies through the rigors as all athletes do. But I want to say that everything I'm talking about is application across the board. So although there are extremes that the athlete has to handle, this information really has broad application. And we won't today be talking about all the factors because we only have a limited amount of time. But the main factors for having energy include your food, which are the micro and macronutrients that you take in all throughout the day, your choice of supplementation to get the micronutrients that we cannot get from food, water, drinking enough water, and this applies to all of us. The hydration piece is huge for energy, and sleep, which is something that culturally we suffer from sleep deprivation because we do too much, and so that's another big factor. And lastly, which don't know that we'll get to today, will be what I'm going to put in quotes and call stress management, which is we're busy, we have so many demands, what are we doing to basically calm our body down and allow it to repair? And this is something we can do all day long. There are techniques I can give you. So those to me are the factors. And today we will talk about some of them, but not all of them.
Okay, so let's start out with stress, because I think that's a big one, and you talk a lot about oxidative stress. I think I'm pronouncing that right, and the need to take oxidants. We all have heard about oxidants, right?
You don't want
antioxidants. I'm sorry, antioxidants, not oxidants.
Let me explain just really briefly, because I'm sure you all hear about it. It's become a major marketing buzzword to get you to buy products because they tell you they have antioxidants. Let me explain what the process is so you understand it, and then how it relates to your dancer. When the body is under internal stresses, now what causes that? Overexercise is one of the most... It's a major cause of oxidative stress in the body. This can happen from too much sun exposure. It can happen from just being stressed. It can happen from eating the wrong foods like high sugar, high fat, too much alcohol. It can happen from exposure to chemicals, exposure to pollutants in the air, the water, the food, the soil, and so on. Without any question, the human body is always exposed to oxidative pressure. Now, if you had a car and the car started to rust, you're familiar with how it oxidizes. If I cut an apple or an avocado and you watched it discolor, that's oxidation. Well, inside your body, when the body experiences this kind of stress, oxidative damage is analogous to you have a fire in the fireplace and the log spits a little ember out onto your rug and singes the rug. So when the body's healthy and we're under oxidative stress, and what we singe with are called free radicals. So it spits a free radical out of a cell and does damage. As a consequence of that, if it's a small number of these kinds of things, the body will repair that oxidative stress. If the number of free radicals that the body is producing is greater than the body can keep up with in terms of repair, then the damage starts to happen. And that shows up in any number of ways, from lack of energy, to headaches, to blood pressure, to cholesterol issues, to ultimate inflammation in the body that can be showing up in joints. The list just doesn't stop. So, what do we have to do? We have to recognize that in order to give the cells on a cellular level the raw material it needs to keep repairing the oxidative damage, and your children who are putting their bodies through the rigors of intense exercise are undergoing huge oxidative stress. There's no way around it. Only moderate exercise doesn't produce that. So we have to give them, through their food and through supplementation, enough antioxidants to be sure that all day long they're getting the raw material to do the repair work. So in a nutshell, that's what oxidation is. And what do you do when you don't want your avocado to oxidize? You put an antioxidant on it like lime juice, which will help slow it down. It won't prevent it. Eventually it will turn black. So part of what we'll be talking about today is, in order to have energy, your body has to be given what it needs to keep handling oxidative stress that comes from such profound athletic performance, not to speak of what they're exposed to in general, just in life, like the rest of us.
Great. So what about the foods? Because, I mean, I think the first thing, you mentioned supplementation, but I think the first thing really is what they eat, and that can be a difficult thing for, you know, depending on the age of your kid, and like some of them have allergies, and Julian was a very picky eater. He didn't like to eat a lot. He had food allergies, but he also didn't like to eat a lot of things. So some of the things I wanted him to eat, he wouldn't eat. So how do we actually give them these nutrient-dense foods that you're talking about? You know, and could you elaborate on that and make some suggestions for meals or for snacks?
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk to you on ideal level, and then we have to get real regarding the bioindividuality of each of your children. Okay, so in Julian's case, I could tell Nina, these are the things he ought to have, and if he refuses to eat them, which we all know through various stages of life, the palate changes, which, P.S., little footnote here, a child needs to be exposed to a food a minimum of 7 times for the palate to be trained to accept it. So if your son or daughter does not accept a food, for example, avocados, one of the foods I'd like you to introduce into their lives on a regular basis. A lot of kids don't like avocados. If you don't like avocados, we're going to keep reintroducing it. Don't allow that initial rejection. I'll give you ways you can disguise it, and that's important. I mean, that is just part of how we, even for, you know, for me or for my husband, if there's something he doesn't like, I don't say he doesn't like it as, oh, that's it, I'll never serve it. I find ways to work it into food, and lo and behold, before you know it, a man who hated avocados now loves them. So, but I had to, I mean, I wasn't dishonest, but with children, sometimes we just don't share what's in the food until they accept it. So let's talk first about the ideal of the kind of nutrient-dense foods we're talking about. We want these dancers to have enormous amounts of protein and fiber. Those are 2 of the key components to having energy. Okay? And P.S., along with the water, I'd like to see them drink water with every time we are feeding them, and then all day long. So that's in conjunction. So here are examples of some of the most protein-rich and nutrient-dense foods. Let's start with nuts. If your child has a nut allergy, obviously this will not be available to you. But nuts are a wonderful source, and most people can eat nuts. So I'm talking about almonds, I'm talking about walnuts and cashew nuts. We are a culture that's generally magnesium deficient, and when you have even mild magnesium deficiency, you're more tired. So here are people who are putting their bodies through the rigor. We want to up their magnesium intake. So we'll try to do it as much as we can with food. So nuts, very high. and will boost magnesium. Nuts can be eaten raw. They can be eaten roasted, dry roasted. I buy raw organic nuts. I chuck them in my toaster oven on the tray, and I slightly toast them depending on who I'm serving them to. I could do it more, do it less. I think that salt for athletes is a good thing. I would buy all natural sea salt. You can salt the nuts, and that's a really good nutrient-dense food. Another good one, as I said, was avocados. See if they like the taste of avocado, they literally can take an avocado with a spoon and just eat it right out of the skin. If they don't like avocados, since one of the other nutrient-dense foods are beans, and often people don't like beans. I'm talking white beans, black beans, lentils, high nutrient-dense, high fiber, high protein. I buy cans of organic. You notice I keep saying organic. I try to avoid pesticides. I try to avoid genetically modified foods. So if you can, always go that route. But beans, if they don't like the taste of beans, get white beans because they don't have much taste. You almost don't even know you're eating them. Cannelloni beans, various white beans, rinse them, and then I mix it with avocado. Mix it with avocado and salsa. I serve this for Super Bowl. I put this as a big pile on a salad. The salsa has all kinds of vegetables and flavor. You put in a lot of avocado and your beans, white beans, black beans. Has fabulous flavor. You can put it in a little Tupperware container. You can eat it with veggies to dip in it. You can eat it with a cracker. And when we talk about crackers, let me now talk about grains. I see your cat, Neen, joining us.
That's
Cupcake. She heard about all
my very old cat, Cupcake.
So grains are something I want to talk about. We now live in a country where most of what your sons are getting, your dancers are getting, when it comes to grains, include wheat. And the wheat in this country, unless indicated otherwise, is genetically modified. And wheat in general actually makes people get logy and tired. So I really recommend you think about whole grains. One fabulous whole grain is brown rice. They sell brown rice crackers that are fabulous. Take it with, again, when we talked about beans and nuts, garbanzo beans, which are chickpeas, which is what hummus is made out of, fabulous nutrient-dense food. We'll send them with hummus, and you have the rice crackers and vegetables, 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 vegetables. Fruit as well, but vegetables have so many phytonutrients and variety. Try to get them accustomed to as many as you can. Play around with it. And by the way, we're all different. I like all my vegetables raw. My family likes all their vegetables cooked. So I parboil the vegetables just a little bit or steam them. Then I can refrigerate them and serve them with hummus, with that wonderful avocado recipe, which, by the way, if you want to know, it's just 1 can beans, 1 jar salsa, and as many avocados as you want. Fabulous. So, again, you'll notice I'm weaving in things all the time that are nutrient-dense. The flax seeds are another really good one. Very nutrient-dense. Kids don't really like flax seeds. Get them ground, because otherwise they just pass whole anyway. And sprinkle it on the salad. Sprinkle it on yogurt. Yogurt is, by the way, a great nutrient-dense food if you can handle dairy. But get plain yogurt and totally control the amount of sweetener that's in it. If you can just have them sweeten it with fruit, berries, by the way, the most nutrient-dense, best fruits are all the berries. They're really high in fiber, really low in sugar, and so I get plain yogurt. I put a little flaxseed. It makes it sort of nutty tasting, fruit, and it's a wonderful snack. And if they say, ew, because their palate is just so trained for sugar, then try a little honey, a little maple syrup, a little agave. These are sources of sugar that spike the blood sugar very slowly. So those are all good. Greens, greens, greens. I know with children it's very hard. So you just do the best you can to keep introducing, because, again, nutrient-dense foods. Let's see, what else? What did I miss? I do use dried fruit when they're especially not at home, and fresh fruit is harder, but I use it in moderation. So a wonderful thing is creating a little baggie for them of nuts and a little dried fruit. I get the unsweetened dried fruit, like unsweetened cherries. Cranberries have to be sweetened. They're very sour, but they're usually sweetened with apple juice. Be sure not to get sugar. So those are really good examples. But I also want a lot of protein. So your dancer should be getting protein at every meal. High protein. And my favorite proteins include eggs. And by the way, all this negative talk about the yolks, there are so many nutrients in the yolks. Do not eliminate the yolks. Again, if you have someone who's fussy and will only eat the whites, then that's what you give them. I love hard-boiled eggs because they can be grabbed anytime, you know, versus cooking, which in the morning, give them a wonderful breakfast. Never skip breakfast. That will determine energy for the entire day. And I had a child who's now 33 who didn't want to eat breakfast. It was a fight every single day. Find something, even if it's a half a banana with peanut butter. Again, the nut butters are wonderful. And if you're allergic to nuts, I don't know if the person would be able to handle seeds. Seeds are another great source of micronutrients. So sunflower seeds, and they make a sunflower seed butter. So seeds in general of all kinds are really good. So I recommend that. When you're talking about protein, I like to go for the lean proteins. I would have them eat a lot of chicken. Of course, I buy all organic to avoid the growth hormones and the other antibiotics and things. I would like to see a lot of lean proteins such as turkey, lean meat. Some red meat is good for iron and all kinds of other wonderful nutrients. Again, I always choose organic when possible. And one of the things that protein has is there are a whole group of amino acids that the body needs. The worry I have is a lot of time, especially when younger kids, they don't like a lot of variety. They have their favorite foods and they want to eat the same things every day. So we'll talk in a few minutes about why we need to supplement what they don't get from food, because we're talking about a lot of foods that you may be saying, well, that's all well and good, but not one thing you mentioned my kid will eat. You know, so try very much wherever possible to give as much variety as you can have them tolerate. But those are some good beginnings. You know, we can get into exotic things like sea vegetables and edamame, which is young soybeans, and you can experiment with it depending on your child and what their palate is and how much they're willing to entertain something new. But that's a really good beginning. The other grain that we didn't mention that I want to be sure we talk about, high in magnesium, is quinoa. And quinoa can be made cold after you cook it. It takes minutes to cook. You can just buy it, read the directions on the box. You can take that, put it in a little Tupperware container, chock it full of all the vegetables they like, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, whatever it is they like. Dress it with their favorite salad dressing. Toss it. Now they're getting protein, good carbohydrates, and the carbs we want them to have are slow carbs. Carbs that fuel the body over time, not these fast carbs that spike the blood sugar, then it drops and they're conking out. So that's a good beginning array.
Yeah, that's a big array.
So
I didn't say at the beginning, I didn't turn on the Q&A pane, but there's a chat pane, and if anyone has questions, just put your questions in the chat pane, and I will be scanning that for the end of this call or this hangout. We'll be taking questions, and Leora will be answering them. So any questions you have about what Leora's talking about, please just type into the chat pane whatever your question is, and we will try to answer it. Okay, so what about sugary foods and drinks, Leora? You know, do you think these are good, quick energy sources? Because I know that, you know, Julian has struggled a lot with drinking soda, for instance, despite what I tell him about soda. And also, when he got to Germany, he started eating candy right before a performance because he said everybody was doing that to spike their energy. And I kept saying that is not what you want to eat before a performance. Is, you know, you're going to have energy for all of, you know, an hour maybe, and that's it. And he was like, well, that's all I need is energy for an hour. But so let's talk about that, about sugary drinks and sugary snacks and those sorts of things.
Okay. So the blood sugar of all human beings is supposed to stay actually in a very tight band. And we are supposed to eat in a way where, other than the fast we have when we sleep, which that's why in the morning we call it break fast, because we're breaking the fast, but from the moment we get up, and everyone should eat within an hour of arising, we want to sustain our blood sugar levels in this tight band. Anything that takes our blood sugar higher than the tight band spikes it. What happens when we spike our blood sugar is that the body will immediately produce insulin to handle the sugar, and we will have energy during the time the blood sugar is spiking. Then the problem is that there is no exception to this rule. What goes up goes down. So the blood sugar spikes, we have energy. Then the blood sugar plummets. When it plummets, we not only don't have energy, but we produce cortisol. Cortisol is an inflammatory hormone. And for an athlete, cortisol is death because we are inflaming the body. And we are in a situation with athletes, dancers being no different from all the other athletes, we cannot afford to get inflammation in the body because it will invariably go to the overused parts of the body. So what goes up goes down. We produce not only the slump in energy, and if you want to know what I'm talking about, think about a meal like Thanksgiving, where you eat a lot of things that are going to spike your blood sugar, all the white things, the white flour in the stuffing, the sugar in the pie, you know, the wine you drank, etc. It all takes your blood sugar up, and then it comes plummeting down. And when it plummets down, you go into a slump. So what do you have to do at that point? You have to get it back up. So what do? You grab for more things usually that are in that category of sweets. Whether they are a beverage or whether they are a food, the result is the same. So the candy that Julian's eating, the soda that he's drinking, and P.S., really important to know this, diet soda saves you calories. But diet soda, artificial sweeteners are recognized by the body the same exact way that they recognize regular sugar. So if you think you solve it by having a diet soda, you do not. It will go through the same spike and crash, and again you will produce cortisol at the time of the crash, which creates inflammation. So now your blood sugar is going to be going up and down and up and down. And this, by the way, will happen if you give your children the wrong thing for breakfast. If your dancer is having a fast carb breakfast, a bagel, a donut, an English muffin, the traditional cereals that we have provided because we live in America and that's what we grew up with, all of those things are not high protein, high fiber, low sugar, slow carbohydrate. So your sweets actually will make you more tired. They will fatigue your muscles. They will inflame your body. There's nothing good to be said, which is why when I said buy the plain yogurt, not the yogurt with the sugar in it, and if you need to sweeten it, we're sweetening it with natural things which are slowly handled by the body. So if you're interested, take a little note, write down glycemicindex.com. Glycemic index, and Nina, if you want to type it in where they can see it. Let me tell you what the glycemic index is. How fast does a food become instant sugar in the bloodstream? If I gave you table sugar, put it in your mouth. You don't have to eat it. Just touches your tongue. That's 100. That's how fast it spikes your blood sugar. So we'd like to feed all of us at 55 or below. And a lot of things are quantity. So you can have a food that's low glycemic, but you eat too much of it, it becomes high glycemic. So Very, very important. Yes, I understand there are times when we all know it, we need that shot of energy. Like, God, please get me through this. And so we do, at an expense to our body, we do choose at that point to have a large amount of sugar in order to do that. But there are other ways. So what I would suggest, I'll give you an example. I work with physician partners who I utilize to answer questions and give me insights that I may not know. I also did very serious research to find a product partner, someone who could provide the micronutrients in the vitamin, minerals, and antioxidants that we all need, that was someone I could stand behind. The same product partner that I've chosen has handled these food issues because they are so important across the board. And one of their products is called Rev 3. This is, can you see this, Neen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what the can looks like. They also have surge packs, which are a powder that your dancer can put into a bottle of water. And these are fueled with green and white tea extract and supplementation. It is a slow amount of energy that builds in your body for up to 5 hours. This would be an example of what I would grab. I would not grab the candy bar. And these are the kinds of things when you're in a pinch. So I have one of these in the car. I do a lot of long distance driving. If I feel myself slumping, I have that. Another thing I have when I feel myself slumping is a Granny Smith apple, the lowest sugar apple, and there's something in it that perks you up. So there are alternatives, but you definitely want to stay away from sugar. Sugar is a short-term fix. It's like sticking your thumb in the hole, you know, in the dike, the famous story. The flood's coming. So,
right. So I just want to let people know there is a tab that says pop-ups, and if you click on it, I've just put in there, and hopefully you can see it, a tab for USANA. So for that Rev 3 drink, you now should be able to see in the pop-up tab a link for a way to click on it and get to USANA.
So let me add something else here, because this sugary thing also ties to the whole concept of in-between meal snacks. And let me say that everything I mentioned in terms of foods, you can fashion into snack forms, because everybody, to keep their blood sugar even, needs to eat every 3.5 hours. We need to have something as the blood sugar starts to fall. There's nothing wrong with feeling hunger, but you don't want to get so hungry, because that means your blood sugar falls. In the case of our dancers, when that blood sugar falls, that is not good for them. That is really taxing their system. I mean, it's true for all of us, but even more so for them. So again, I want to point out that of the foods we talked about, be sure you always have lots of leftovers to give them as snacks. If you roast a chicken, have extra that they can have as part of a snack. But sometimes none of this is practical. We don't have refrigeration. We need things that we can grab and go. And one of the things that I recommended to Julian when he was dancing, and recommend to all of us, is USANA has products. These are the snack bars. Can you see them? Am I holding it up
again? Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you what they have. They have Fudge Delight. They have Cocoa Chip, which is like a chocolate chip. They have a peanut. What?
I'm going to say something about that when you're done. Go ahead.
They have a Peanutty Bliss for those who can do nuts and there's no chocolate. And they have a new one called Berry Nutty, which is cherries, cranberries, and nuts. And the first three have very high protein. The berry nut is a little less. These are a grab and go. They have the perfect proportion of protein, good slow carbs, and good sugars in order to fuel the body. And I recommend that this is something they would have with them at all times. They can experiment, see which ones they like, because there are times when you just can't refrigerate the hard-boiled egg snack. You just can't refrigerate the hummus and veggies, and this is stuff they can keep in a locker, in a bag, and I think these are wonderful. The other thing I want to say is that USANA makes these shakes which are, again, the perfect percentage of protein, slow carbs, and sugar.
Yeah, I'm holding them up if anybody wants to see.
And Nina knows firsthand because she uses them and her children use them. And they do also sell these individualized packs, which I don't know if you can see. They cost just a bit more to buy them that way, but that way, I mean, I just put 3 scoops in a Ziploc bag.
That's
but
what I did.
It may be easier for some of you to buy them already in these prepackaged single serving. And what do you do with that? Okay, we can do this together at the same time. So this is a shaker bottle. It's BPA compliant, so there's no unhealthy plastic. There is a stainless steel wire whisk because I'm not a shake person. These are the only shakes I've actually ever had that I like. And you add 10 or more ounces of liquid. It can be water. It can be a milk product or a nut milk product or a soy milk product, whatever you like. The reason for the wire whisk is because there's truly one of the more disgusting things in life is biting into a
clump
of the powder. So you take them up, and again, you can take this in their bag, and off they go to whether it's rehearsal or whatever, and they have their shake. It is a meal replacement, so after school, on their way to a dance class, at any time, there are 15 grams of protein, and there are, it's just the most wonderful, they have all the right fats in them, which we sort of parenthetically, the omega-3s that everybody needs to feed the brain, the muscles, the heart, be healthy, have energy. That's some of the foods that I've talked about, like nuts and avocados and seeds and the whole grains. So I want to recommend that this be part of your repertoire. This is part of your toolbox of how to fuel energy. I'm not a fan of saying eating processed shakes or bars as your regular diet, but you have family members here who need easy, fast, convenient ways to fuel the body and stay healthy. This is a good piece of that puzzle.
Right. So what I wanted to add was that, well, first of all, while I do use a shaker, mine is actually wet on the inside because I used it yesterday on my way to a talk. It was my breakfast. And most mornings I do use a shake for breakfast, but I put ice in it and I put it in the blender. And so I do 12 ounces of water and some ice, and I blend it up. Julian has used shakes. He doesn't use them in Germany now, but he used them a lot when he was in high school, and he only would have them really, really thick. So we had to put tons of ice in there and blend it up. I mean, like the blender was having, struggling to blend up all this ice, but we would blend it up that way, and it was kind of like a milkshake because he only liked the chocolate ones. And he would have these along with, he was a bagel and cream cheese guy, but he would have the protein drink with it, so that way I knew that he had that, good protein and something that was, had that, wasn't going to spike his sugar levels and the glycemic levels. And then when we would go to summer intensives, I would walk with him, and he would be drinking this. He would have his bagel and cream cheese, which he insisted on, and then he would have his drink. And I'd carry that drink, and I'd be always saying, drink, 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 and he'd finally take it, and he would drink it. And that would get him through the whole morning of the summer intensive. And he did not like the bars so much. We found one bar, the chocolate bar that they had, that they don't make anymore, and he ate that for a long time. And now I send him to Germany the chocolate chip ones, as well as the fudge ones. Leora held up. I don't have those here. And he loves them. He says the chocolate chip ones are like eating, yeah, that's it. He says it's like eating almost like raw cookie dough. He says, so it's like eating something that you're not supposed to eat, but because it tastes like a chocolate chip cookie pretty much, but almost like one that's not cooked very well. And so he loves them, and he says the other dancers love them. And I'm always telling him not to give them away. But anyway, so he eats them a lot now, and he has them in his locker, and they're just a staple of his diet. And and what I was going to say was on the back, for those who have peanut allergies and nut allergies, Julian is highly, highly allergic to peanuts. And I was very concerned because it actually says that it's manufactured on equipment that also processes nuts, or peanuts and other tree nuts. But USANA does a really great job, I think, of cleaning their equipment. And so, I asked the questions, and I said, I'm very concerned. And they said, we really pay attention, and we don't think it's a problem. And despite his high allergy to peanuts, he has never once had a problem taking eating these bars, and he continues to do so. So for him, it was very hard to find protein bars. Very, very hard to find protein bars. These are the only protein bars we have ever found that don't have nuts in them. So that was a godsend for him. Well, so I just mentioned that. Oh, and he drank the Rev 3s. The Rev 3s, he has ADD, and kids with ADD crave sugar for their brain, because it speeds up their brain. And he was always craving sugar, which is another reason he still likes soda. And the Rev 3s were healthy. They had green tea in them, and everything in them was healthy, and had vitamins to feed his body. Lots of athletes are using them to enhance their performance because there's so many good things in them. And he really loved the Rev 3s and would drink those before performances and before rehearsals and things like that.
Yeah, and actually, USANA works with athletes. I should give you this information. I think it will help you understand the credibility of the company. They have an athlete guarantee. They offer $1 million to any athlete who uses their products and were to test for a banned substance. The biggest concern that athletes have is if they're taking a product that's not pure, where they'll test positive or that will be harmful to them. The WTA, Women's Tennis Association, for example, Venus and Serena Williams and those ladies, WTA researched all the supplement companies and found only one that would give a purity guarantee and that was absorbable and that was everything that they needed. And so I do have, and I think Nina may at some point choose to post these for you, various nutritional protocols that different athletic groups have used over time. And so they have nutrition travel packs for these athletes. In the Sochi Olympics, there were 700 athletes, plus more than 700, that were using USANA supplements and products. And they talk all the time about how they take their blender bottle and their shakes and their bars and their supplements and the Rev 3, either Surge Pack or cans. Cans are not always viable, depending, and the can is carbonated versus the Surge Pack, which is not. So the credibility here is huge, and the applicability is perfect, dovetails with why you're here today.
So we're running low on time, so we have a couple questions that are in the chat pane, and anybody else who still has questions, please type them in there. We're going to get to the questions next. I have one last question that I want Leora to answer, but so do please type your answers in there. So we haven't talked about supplementation, and Julian did use, we made for him special packs of vitamins. You can buy, hold on, I'm going to get it here. You can buy, I use the health pack. I don't know if you can see that. The health pack, it comes in little packages of vitamins like this, so that it's very easy for me, and then I add the other things like omegas and flavonoids and other things, extra calcium. But Julian, we made him a special pack that he, for a while, he doesn't like doing it that way anymore, but he had a special one that was just his, and he had these little packs, but it was his vitamins. And so, picking vitamins is a difficult thing, and I want you to talk about that, Leora, about how do you know the difference between these different vitamin or supplement manufacturers?
Okay, well, if I gave you a list of criteria that you ought to look at before choosing one of the hundreds or perhaps thousands of different manufacturers of supplements, what you need to understand is that the majority of supplements are made by the same 5 formulators and sold under different labels. So one of the first things you want is a science-based company that stays on the cutting edge of research, because nutrition is a fledgling science, and what we know today is different from what we're going to know tomorrow. And that's why if you're confused, you are not alone, because today they tell us we need one thing and then tomorrow it's another, and it's very contradictory. So the NSF sports certification is something that is a key component, which USANA Health Sciences has. Another thing is you want to have the athlete guarantee. You want to have the good manufacturing processes of the pharmaceutical industry. Now, why do I say that? In the pharmaceutical industry, you don't worry when you get your penicillin for strep throat. You don't worry. You know that there were quality testing of raw materials, clean rooms where the manufacturing occurred, and quality testing of the finished product. That doesn't occur in food-grade manufacturing. In the United States, supplements are not required to have anything but food-grade manufacturing. USANA is one of only 2 companies that voluntarily adheres to the pharmaceutical good manufacturing. Therefore, they are the only ones that guarantee purity. So when you have Olympic athletes being told the only supplements you're allowed to take are USANA or none at all, because they know that they have the purity guarantee and they know that they are getting the best micronutrients. So the other thing is it's an in-house manufacturing process, which means they are in total control. And that is a very important feature. So you put it all together, and there's a third-party rating of all the supplements. And there's a book you can go on Amazon and buy called The Comparative Guide to Nutritional Supplements. I can save you the time if you like. I'm also happy if you want me to look up your supplement company and see how they rate. It's a 5-star rating. And as far as I'm concerned, if you want to stay in a 1-star hotel, be my guest, but do not put a 1-star in your body, let alone the body of people who are asking their bodies to do amazing things. So why am I saying that everyone should be on supplements, especially people who are having the rigors of dancers? Because there is no way with today's food supply that you can get all the micronutrients you need from eating. Even if you don't have a picky eater, even if you have someone who's willing to eat everything on the list that I gave you, the quantities you'd have to eat to get enough micronutrients for the oxidative stress. The body is under oxidative stress, and it will not be able to keep up and keep repairing, and so it gets tired. Without the right, you're talking about the fuel to the cells. The mitochondria of the cells need fuel. You can't get enough fuel just from food. So we all need supplements, but the dancers need supplements even more. So I'm going to suggest that Nina and I put together a protocol that we recommend for your dancers, and we'll find a way to post it and then tell you how to get it if that's something you like. But you just cannot. And for those of you who understand what the physician's desk reference is, it's the PDR. USANA is the only supplement company listed, along with medications, that has met all the standards that doctors would require. So there's a big, big difference in absorbability of supplements, in the completeness of the formula, how safe and pure they are. So definitely, if you're giving your people a good multivitamin antioxidant now, they may be absorbing between 1 and 10%. USANA has absorbed 96%. This is why you'll find athlete testimonials, and they don't get paid, constantly saying, I had more energy, my recovery time was faster, and my immune system was stronger. And an issue that we don't have time for today is that to keep your immune system strong when you're putting it under so much oxidative stress with all this exercise and all the other stressors, we need to keep the immune system strong, and supplementation will be a key component in that.
Great. So I think we're going to take the questions now. I just did put up to check the pop-ins again, because Leora has made a really generous offer to give you a free consult for your dancer, boy or girl. or even for yourself. And you can click on the pop-ins and just click the I'm interested button, and it will take you to her site, and you can sign up. I also put the link to her site, leoraamir.com, in the chat pane, so you can just click on it there. All right, so Leora, let's do some questions. We have a few, and we're running out of time, so let's make sure we get to them.
Okay.
All right, so the first one is from Atlanta. I don't know if that's just where she's located or that's actually her name, but she has two questions, actually. She first wants to know, is a peanut butter sandwich on whole wheat okay for lunch every day for my 14-year-old boy?
Okay. The first thing I want to say is nothing every day is good, because we are constantly giving the same thing to the body, and people can develop intolerances if we eat the same thing every day. That's the first thing. So if we could vary it, that would be better. Second thing, when you say whole wheat bread, let me just share with you that whole wheat bread is rarely whole wheat bread. It is usually a percentage of whole wheat flour and a large percentage of unbleached or white flour. So read your label. If in fact it's really a whole grain bread, meaning all 100% whole wheat or other whole grains, then yes, peanut butter on bread. You didn't mention a jelly, so that would be wonderful if we're not doing a sweetener. If you are having to do a sweetener, get a fruit juice sweetened jelly or preserve and make it as little as possible. But please read the labels of your bread. It is exceedingly difficult to find a whole grain bread in most grocery stores without some serious searching. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We use some organic whole grains, like, I don't know, we like Dave's bread, but.
Well, and if you can start even experimenting with breads that are made with millet and rice flour, so it's not this constant. Wheat is inflammatory. It's an inflammatory food, and we want to keep their muscles, their joints, their tendons from being inflamed.
Right. Okay, so we'll get to Atlanta's next question in a minute. So we have one from Suzanne. She says, and I hope I pronounced this last part of it right, because you said this, but I never know how to pronounce it. Anyway, I have heard during differing views on boys eating soy due to the effect on hormones. My son loves edamame. Is that how you pronounce it?
Edamame, yes.
Edamame. Should I limit his intake?
Well, it's a controversial subject. There are many opinions. So I can tell you what I know as of today, and then we'll all keep our ears open as more and more research. As I said, nutrition is a confusing fledgling science. I don't have an objection to soy for your son, provided that it's done intermittently, provided that it's done with a variety. We don't want a steady diet. So I don't know from your question whether he's having soy every single day, at how many meals. But I think as part of an array of choices, I have no problem with it at all.
Okay, great. All right, Atlanta has another question. Sometimes my sons have a hard time winding down after dance to go to bed. I'm reluctant to give them caffeine in any form. So that would mean like the Red 3, which has green tea.
Okay, so don't. I mean, that's just an option for those for whom it works. One of the things Nina, do I have 1 minute to get into something here? When are we closing? At 5?
We can go a few minutes over, but close to that, and we have a few more questions.
Okay, so one of the things I was going to talk about if we had time was how do we, I mean, of course, they're geared up, they're physically active, and now we've talked about all the great ways to sustain energy and keep them going. Well, we probably need to spend a minute talking about the bookend, which is how do we wind them down. And this, what I'm about to talk to you about, is true of all of us. So one of the things that I would try and teach your kids, and good for you as well, are breathing exercises to wind down. It's very simple, very easy, and you can do it at any time. But our day has been stressful. We've asked a lot of ourselves, and now we want to bring it down. So I want to teach you a breathing skill, and what we're trying to do is slow the breathing down. So at a minimum, slow breathing. Like right now with everybody on the call, just take a slow, not fast, just deep breath in and then slowly take it out. So you go, Do you not feel like you just went on a little vacation? I mean, really good if you can learn to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, really, because we're shallow chest breathers as a culture. Breathe really slowly in through the nose. Oh, blow it out. Now, so at the beginning, just minimal. See if you can have them sit with you or learn to just do some slowing down breathing. There is a wonderful breathing exercise called the 4-7-8. I do it, and I do it sometimes just in the middle of the day when I can feel that I'm being sort of revving up to get myself grounded. And again, this slows you down. Great to do before bed. So breathe in through the nose for 4 counts. Hold it for 7 counts. And then breathe out for 8. And if they're willing to do it, have them put the tip of their tongue behind their teeth. So you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 7, and then out through the mouth for 8, all the while the tongue touching the back of the teeth. This is a really good way to get the parasympathetic nerves in the body activated. And that will just it slows down heart rate, it slows down respiration. It's incredible. So I do it every night when I go to bed. If you wake up at 3 in the morning, and tell this to your sons and daughters, you wake up at 3 in the morning and you're having trouble falling asleep, you do this. Do it a minimum of 4 times, maximum of 8. So
Great.
slowing down breathing is a really big key.
Super. All right, we have 2 more questions, so let's see if we can get through them. Suzanne asks again, is melatonin safe in safe quantities for a 12 to 13-year-old dancer who has trouble winding down after rehearsing late at night?
You just after rehearsing? I thought you said after cursing.
No, after rehearsing. After cursing, we sweep them across the head.
Okay. A child under 16, I would rather we do other things than melatonin. Let me just tell you briefly that sleep requires a dark room because the body naturally produces melatonin the minute it's dark. So the first thing I would do is if your child is allowed to have anything in their room at night, whether it's a phone, a tablet, a computer, I would even get a battery-powered alarm clock, get rid of the electric ones that have the lit-up screens. You need darkness. The human body is designed that the minute it's dark, they produce melatonin, and the minute it's light, it stops. So limit exposure to all of the devices at least an hour before bed. That will be a key thing. And sign up for a consult, and we can talk more one-on-one. I can find out more about your child and give you some advice. But I'd like to not, the answer is yes, melatonin is safe, but we shouldn't need to do it for a young child. So let's figure out other ways.
Okay, and Leora, the pop-in is still there, and I have recently put the link to her website as well, so either way is fine. Okay, we have one last question, and that is from Kathy. If USANA uses GMPs of pharmaceutical industry, are they audited or inspected by the FDA?
Yes, and they are an FDA-registered facility, one of the few. So good question. Shows you do your homework. I'm impressed. Absolutely, they're audited and registered FDA facility.
And talk just briefly about the fact that, because this is the thing I'm always talking about, is about when you take the USANA supplements that, the word just went out of my head, about the difference between those supplements and others in terms of how much we actually retain. That's not the word I want.
Yeah, absorbed. I mentioned that a little earlier, that in independent studies they found that most supplements are absorbed 1 to 10%, and that USANAs are absorbed at 96 plus %. So just sort of imagine your plant in the garden that you give a little water to and it perks up a little, and then you give a lot of water with fertilizer and it perks right up and it's blooming and it's wonderful. That's sort of like our body. The cells have to have the right balance of micronutrients in order to function optimally, and the human body is this amazing machine, and it's a self-healing machine. So the absorbability is one of the things that puts USANA as a 5-star product, because most of the products on the market are between 1 and 3-star, and some are 0. Like if you're buying Sam's Club and you know, Walgreens and all of those types, people say, oh, you know, what's the difference? Fish oil is fish oil. Well, ours is 100% pure, so you're not getting chemicals and pollutants, and so the absorbability is key. Why take it otherwise?
Right. So there's one last question. Tanya wants to know, she says, back to melatonin, or melanin, she says, actually. I thought, anyway. She says, what about jet lag when kids compete overseas? So it is true. Some of these kids are flying overseas to do some of these European competitions, and also they may be flying from coast to coast. You know, maybe they're on the West Coast and they fly to New York for, you know, to do YAGP or something like that. So there are times when they are jet lagged.
I have no problem with melatonin being used when we're transitioning time zones. And actually, USANA has 100% pure melatonin. It's the one that I use for my clients. I would start with one around an hour before the new bedtime. The earlier question, what I was trying to avoid was having it be used as an ordinary, regular thing in a child, as opposed to adults where, you know, I'm 62. When you get over 40, melatonin production is reduced every year. So we reach the point where we may need it to sleep well. Children shouldn't, but yes, in the extraordinary circumstance of flying, where you have time zone changes and you're adjusting, it's a great way to reset your clock. I absolutely would be in favor of that.
Great. So we're out of questions. I'm just about out of time. So I want to, I've left up in the pop-up window the pop-in for Leora to get her free consult for your dancer or even for yourself. And so that's there, but it's also in the chat pane. It's just www.leoraamir.com. And if you're just interested in checking out USANA products on your own, then I also have the link there. The pop-up's not there anymore, but the link to go there is a bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly/USANA Nina Amir, and the only thing that's capitalized is the N and the A in Nina and Amir. But that's in the chat pane as well, and you can just click through and check out the products for yourself if you want.
And feel free, if you'd like to sign up for my newsletter. I write from time to time about different health topics. The topic that we discussed today, which Nina had up as a blog, I believe, on the site, I will also include that so that if you missed it, you can get it that way. That way you'll be getting health information as it becomes available.
Right, and we'll do another one of these Google Hangouts on another topic sometime soon, and we're also going to talk about the opportunity that you have to actually, a lot of people talk about not, you know, finding ways to afford dance for their kids and all the things they're doing, and there are some opportunities here, and you can also just contact Leora about that now if you're interested in hearing about it. But at some point we're going to do another hangout on that, because I'd like to help all of you have an easier time to supporting your kids.
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, good financial health is also necessary for good health. Buying good food, buying good supplements, it all costs money. So yeah. we know what this involves. And the other thing I just wanted to say is, if you have particular subjects that you would like to hear me address via a blog, doing another one of these hangouts, feel free to put it in the Facebook group that you'd like to hear about certain topics, and then over time hopefully we can address, if not all of them, some of them, and then some can be done with one-on-one conversations. So it was certainly a pleasure to talk to all of you. I hope this is helpful.
It was very helpful, and I have just typed in that you can also email me at nina@ninaamir.com if you have ideas for blog posts or for other Google Hangouts or anything like that. And so you can just email me directly. But this was great. Thank you very much, Leora, for all the great information, for being my sister and my health partner.
Oh, thank you. Ditto. Thanks for all you're doing. I think it's really impressive that you started this group, and I hope that the word gets spread. And feel free, by the way, anytime we have one of these, to invite anybody, because really the needs of an athlete are different in magnitude. And for example, joint support might be something we need to talk about separately. I would put that in the supplements that Nina and I will recommend. But everything we're talking about also has applicability across the board. So until next time, it was fun.
It was. It was.
Okay.
So until next time, everybody go out and have fun with your dancer and keep them healthy and strong and full of energy. Thanks, Leora. Thanks, everyone, for attending.
Bye.
Bye.